Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Spencer Andrews, A.K.A. DJ Dre, and you're in the mix with DJ Jesse James from Sydney, Australia. Jesse, how are you?
I'm good. I'm currently in Puerto Rico at the moment, actually.
I know we had a couple of conversations previously, and you were going crazy running around. What is that all about?
Oh gosh. Okay. So, look, I've been DJing for about 23 years. I thought it was 22. But in the last, I'd say 12 months, things have just gotten a little crazy. So I've been in between countries, like I've been down in between Europe and Australia. But I got a contract with the Ritz-Carlton recently and to work on the new yacht collection. So that is currently in Puerto Rico and doing the Caribbean, and then we move on to the Med. That I needed to do some secure. It's an international maritime law, SOLA, so you need to do safety training. So I had to fly to Europe. Anyway, it was crazy. In Australia, I do a lot of work for the casino, etc. And Sydney is basically centered around, like, the focal point is the harbour, a bit like New York, the water in New York and parts of New York City. But we do a lot of work in summer, seasonal work on super yachts. So the laws are very relaxed there too. But as soon as you kind of go out to sea, apparently internationally, even if you're like a server or, a janitor or anything working on a commercial vessel, you need to have like this safety training.
Right.
And it's like MacGyver stuff, climbing up the side of a ship and doing evacuation stuff. And I'm like, I'm just a DJ. I'm fighting fires. It was mental. I did that in Germany. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Right.
Put it down, to the life experience adventure.
You've been DJing for 23 years. What happened? Because you didn't wake up. None of us did, at least. How did it happen for you?
When I was a kid, I was very gifted. I had like a really high IQ, just couldn't apply myself at school. Another one of those cautionary tales about disruptive children. It turns out ADHD, so I had a lot of problems, but just literally had no interest in anything. And academically, I could do really well. And, you got the teachers saying if you applied yourself, but I tended to gravitate towards more the creative side of schooling. So, the theatre and music. And my parents were somewhat pleased with, like, all right, whatever you want to do. Do you want to do piano lessons, whatever? So it kind of started from there.
Right.
And then about 16, I met kind of like an older not father figure, like a big brother figure who was really well known in the club scene in Sydney at the time. And in the 90s, everyone was playing on vinyl, like it was white labels. You'd go to certain record stores and find all these imported, because it was house music. So you'd find all these imported limited, press. What had happened was he wouldn't teach me to DJ because it wasn't a thing in Sydney. It was like, I think there was one or two female DJs. It was kind of like, very misogynistic.
Right.
It was the era. It wasn't any individuals. It was like, no, women don't DJ. And so I got really pissed off, and I used the anger to motivate me. And I took out a loan. Looking back, my gosh, I was such a kid. But yeah, I took out a loan and I bought 2-channel Pioneer mixer. The new, when vinyl mode, the CDJs, the first dial, CDJ, I don't know why I bought 2 different ones. I was persistent. Like I had the music knowledge,
right,
and I knew it hard. I kind of knew that part. No one taught me how, and I just practiced in the bedroom, bedroom banger is the term. So I just kept practicing and I kind of got it. And then a friend of mine was like, oh, I want you to like DJ at this club. I know this guy, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I got my first gig in like one of the best, like the hottest clubs in Sydney. It kind of all happened there. I got lucky, It was a novelty for them, female DJs.
And how old were you?
I was 19 by the time I got my ducks in a row. So when I finally went, okay, cool, it's time to graduate out of the bedroom. It was normally you do functions. And I knew I needed to learn, because I hung around with enough DJs to know I needed to learn how to read a crowd.
Yeah.
So I then started doing, weddings, functions, and did the circuit and learned how to work a bar with the music, how to do an opening set. It's really important. And I feel like kids these days that are coming up, I don't know about the US, but in Australia, there's an issue there. COVID shut down. They don't have a place to kind of learn, and they don't want to learn. I don't know if it's a generation thing too. They're just like, no, I want to produce a track in my bedroom and I'm going to be the next, David Guetta. I don't know if you go through the anxiety before every set. It doesn't matter if it's a smaller gig or something big, like I did the soccer, like the football, but I still get that anxious pit in my stomach because we are passionate and we care and we want to do the best job.
I was schooled. I probably didn't touch the turntables for 6 months. He was like, no, you need to learn beats, you need to learn the music. I thought he was full of shit, and I'll never forget, one night, and I would go to the club every weekend he was at, and I would just sit there, a timeout in the corner, and I'll never forget, one night I just kept my mouth shut, and he looks at me, he goes, what the fuck are you doing? What? I'm learning. He goes, well, you're up. I just put it behind me, I got up there. I actually entered the club scene at 18, working some of the biggest, dumpiest clubs that we had at the time. I'll never forget a nightclub where I had to walk into the DJ booth and kind of duck the electrical wiring.
Oh, gosh.
The place got packed every weekend. It used to get so hot in there and humid, the windows would fog up. This was the place to be. You've also worked in radio. You have this ridiculous resume. Of course, I'm not putting you down. I'm just bringing it up right now to embarrass you. So if I was going to hire you, I probably would, because it doesn't look like you move around a lot. So you start off as a social media producer, then went to a content producer, then you went to a social media producer at Channel 9 Studios. You were a former app producer, former editor, former owner of Creatives Inc. Solutions. Hold on, we're not done yet. Former associate editor at Big Pond News Entertainment.
There's an explanation. Industry in Australia is contract-based and it's seasonal, so it's nothing permanent. I'm a former Catholic schoolgirl into a private school, which is very common in Australia. We wear horrible uniforms. We don't have a cafeteria. Yeah, they're pretty strict. It's very the Catholic teachings. But so AFTRS is kind of like Juilliard in New York, but for film, TV, and radio. Jane Campion is a very famous Australian director, and she graduated in the film part. So they've produced quite it's talent, but it's a government-funded school or a college, and it's kind of like an elite that they only pick 12 people from around Australia, New Zealand, and Asia to be in this course, and the government pay for your the bill. So you get a student allowance, and the government pay for that. You go through auditions, and they put you through the ringer. You walk away with a kind of like a fast track college degree, because you're at the top of your game already. They can see you're the future of radio. I was too young and immature. I was 21 when I graduated. I did the way the radio works in Australia is, you might graduate from a college, very rare that they do, or they move to a country town. And they start off there and then move their way back to Cap City. And I did that. I got some great opportunities, but I was so immature and I was not disciplined and didn't understand that the small sacrifice, now in hindsight as an adult, if I'd made the sacrifice, I'd be on Cap City Radio, because everyone I graduated with, I ended up 360, it's so funny. In the last couple of years working on their shows, doing more digital side of stuff. So, they're all very well-known media identities in Australia. It doesn't bother me. I don't think I would be cut out for radio. I think I'm great as talent. But at the time, and even in my 20s and 30s, I don't think I would have been able to handle the constructive criticism. I had a real chip on my shoulder. Now, not so much, but, I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser. I've got, other things going on. But, I'll leave the door open, I guess, one day for radio, but who knows? So that's how I started. And DJing was just a side thing that I was doing. I had the music knowledge, and I just built my profile up in Sydney. And then it's gotten crazy, I've got to say. Probably in the last 10 years, I toured around Australia, and I've gotten some really crazy gigs, but yeah, I'll never forget radio. Radio's always been my one love. 2001, I graduated. And you got to understand, we have a heavy US influence, but we have our own. It's a much smaller media market in Australia. The population base is smaller. There's not the laws with the government. They only allow. They really restrict the licenses, the broadcast licenses, free to air.
Wow.
So we only have a 3 or 4 TV networks that dominate. There's not much choice. There's not much variety. And in terms of radio networks, you're limited, because Australia is a very big country, but there's only like 2 or 3 main players that own the network. They take over the smaller stations that are independent, that are in like isolated towns, and and then they perform like this mega network where they syndicate a lot of stuff. And there was the issues too.
Right.
Like the landscape was starting to change. And I didn't like it. They were focused on women at the time. I mean, I don't want to sound like some crazy feminist. I'm not. I'm quite diplomatic. But at the time, it was turning into a industry that I didn't want to be in.
Right.
There was an obsessive focus on the female announcers having to look a certain way. I didn't want to play the game.
Right.
And there's my problem. I kind of always just want to do what I think is right.
Yeah.
And there's always been some friction even with DJing with certain agents where they're like, just play the game. Look, I gave up club work last year. I can't do it anymore, purely because the landscape's changed. You used to be able to break things. Like, you remember you'd break a track.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like a local artist, but you heard something was really hot. You could hear that it was going to be a banger, and you could break it. A couple of things happened. I had like a 15-year residency at a massive nightclub in Sydney, Australia. I'm not trying to put down like younger people. I don't want to sound like our parents going, or a cranky like DJ saying, these young kids. But the attention span is that of a goldfish. And I've had kids standing there and they are just ruthless. Like, no manners or etiquette. I would never go up to a DJ or a musician for that matter and interject their set because I want to request and carry on like an absolute lunatic because they're drunk and they're just being sassy and they've seen some crappy song on TikTok. The attention span of 30 seconds. Like, let it coast. Let it. Like, people don't recognize the hook immediately. It's usually like first chorus, maybe the second chorus, and then let's get out of the track. But I just couldn't do it anymore. After 15 years I was doing hip hop there, although I'm open format, and I just said to myself, I can't do this anymore. It used to be exactly what you said. You could break a track, you could take risks. People would trust the DJ and they would have a good time. They would focus on having a good time and dancing and being with their friends and, whatever. Not, are they going to play this track? How come he's not playing it? I don't know if clubs are for me. Maybe I'll play it overseas. Maybe I'll give the United States a go. But I think that ship has sailed for me now. I'm done. Yeah, I don't have the patience. I have a mouth. I'm very sassy.
I understand what you're saying. For me, I've always played music that's out there. I've played music that people weren't hearing. I'm just playing music that you haven't heard because you're not going that far to hear it. I'm like you. I'm open format.
The landscape's changed too now. Like I said, I think I stand by what I said. I think that this day and age, people's attention span, because of social media and other factors, I don't know about you, but I knew I could take more risks creatively. Like, I'm not saying unearth an unknown artist, but there'd be a track that's charting that I knew it's gonna blow up. And some people have heard it, not everyone. You could take that risk to play it. So now I'm finding, I don't know, again, I don't know the US market, but I definitely know for a little bit of Europe and for Australia, open format. I'm getting more work open format for sure, versus the genre, because I was a house DJ too, and then I switched to hip hop. So I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but this is my experiences. I'm not getting disheartened. It's just, I've gone in a different direction now. Like, it's not that I hate clubs or anything like that. It's just, I realize I don't want to deal with the headaches anymore. And so I started to go into corporate, more brand marketing, like gigs, and then sporting events, because I don't have that restriction on, you don't really, I mean, if you get a request, it's quite civil. It's not like that anymore. I can, there's a certain structure.
You had a 15-year residency, because I'm going to tell you, when I got into the club scene, I probably had a 6-month to, and it was pushing it to have a 1-year residency, because I felt, for me, I didn't want to play myself out.
I didn't just stay there. Like, I'll admit, it's something that held a place for me. So, I would play other clubs. But, we had an agreement that I would literally play minimum once a month. But I would like to bounce around a lot. I'm much like you. I mean, I don't want to also get stale.
Yeah.
So, you felt, you're not lazy as a DJ, but you kind of get yourself into a rhythm and you know exactly. So it's really easy to kind of you know, you do your same set, blah, 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 or you might throw a couple of things, but you know your formula. You try. So I never kind of just stayed there. In fact, I would have like sometimes even I'd get tired, so I'd just have a couple months break. But I do a lot of work for the casino, a very big casino group in Australia. So that was good too because they have different kind of clientele. So I'd switch it up a bit because that was like, you know, a bit more club, young kids, ratchet, you know, more refined things, and that's like a lady.
And you don't want to spread yourself thin. That's the whole thing, you know, if you become a DJ and you take this as a business, not a hobby, not a way to get free drinks, not a way to pick up guys or girls, you realize that you want to move around, you want to get known.
That's exactly what happened.
Are we going to be the next name brand DJ? Most likely not. I'm not aiming for that. I'm just aiming for popularity and knowledge that when you say my name, people say, yeah, I know his music, I know what he does, and it's good music. I know what she does. Getting into the corporate side, you know, it works for some people. I couldn't do what you do, you know, because the music restricts me.
Maybe the market's different. Like, as in, I feel like Australians are crazy and loose as hell. You could go into a corporate set and people are like, these guys want to party, we put a tab behind the bar, and I'm talking like 700 to 1,000 people that all work for a bank or something, and they are loose as hell. I also do a lot of stuff with horse racing. Horse racing is really popular in Australia, particularly in Sydney. It's like the socialite kind of thing. So you can guarantee every weekend on a Saturday, people will put like a nice dress on or suits, and they will go to the racetrack.
Do you think there's been a change?
I can only speak on like the female side because it's really frustrating. I'm so sick. I understand the landscape has changed in terms of marketing. I really despise that I was getting booked once upon a time because I was female, and it was kind of like a novelty, like, oh, let's do a female DJ night, like we're aliens. Female DJs in, because it'll get guys in. I've been DJing for a long time. I can pack a dance floor as good as a guy. I'm not saying I want to be a crazy feminist. I hate that there's this thing where such emphasis on appearance. I think people bullshit and say, oh yeah, body positivity. I experience it all the time. There's an expectation of being full glam makeup. My hair needs to be done. What's that got to do with my ability, like a skill?
When the club scene started, you worked for the club, and then promoters came out. So the business changed.
I remember that as we were chatting earlier, where now, like, that's the other reason why I wanted to stop, because before, you go there, you do your set. That's when I don't know about what it was like in New York or in the United States, but when you go to the club, when like up until probably the last 5 years, it's changed for me in Sydney.
Wow.
They wouldn't dare ask me because they know I'll tell them to F off. Like, I just have zero, I can't, because I've been doing this for so long. But that's what I noticed about clubs. Suddenly, I'm a DJ, I'm not a promoter. If you can't get your shit together and market your club and get people in the door, don't you dare insult me. I've got shit to worry about. Like, I've got to plan a set. Don't insult me and my skill and all the hard work I put in by making me now become a promoter, and I've got to guarantee bring 10 people in. They're going to fuck off. No, sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but it's just like the bane of my existence. I'm a DJ. I need to work. I know what I have to do. I know my responsibilities. I'm not a promoter. That's your job. You do what you do. Don't put that shit on me. If the night doesn't go well, that's not my problem. I paid my dues and I've done my work because I know how marketing works. And you're getting the database. You asshole of a promoter. You're getting the database, so you're getting data, which is more valuable. Like, you know, when you have the girls that walk around and get, like, you know, back in the day,
the emails,
they get their name,
all that,
cell number, email address. Hey, asshole, you're getting something that you can reach out and do your own marketing and get them to come back on your own accord. You don't need me. Like, I'm doing my job. You do you and I do me, and if you don't like it, well, there's 20 other DJs that can do a shit version of what I do. Why don't you go talk to them? That's what I literally am, point blank. I stand my ground, and probably the same. I'm guessing you're the same.
You know, I started to work for promoters, you know, here in New York. Well, I had a friend of mine that owned the club, and I was the right-hand man. And we used to get these promoters come in, and, you know, how many people can you bring in? Oh, I can bring in 400, 500, 600 people. And I used to look at them and say, listen, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Because they would tell you, you know, 400 to 600 people, opening night, 10 people would come. But you're telling me 600 people and you brought in 10.
I can have laser focus on it. I could do a 12-hour set if I needed to, and I won't get tired. I'm just so focused and obsessed with what I'm doing and into the music and can maintain that energy. And it's been the only thing that I've never lost passion for. I've gotten disheartened over the years with certain things, particularly when I was younger. And then, you get a little bit bitter. I took it on my stride, and obviously I'm a lot older and a lot wiser and a lot more experienced. But now I really enjoy, it's going to sound really cheesy, but I enjoy like just making people happy. I went back to university and deferred my master's recently, but because people, when they hear, oh yeah, she's disruptive, blah, 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 the first thing is they want to make you feel like there's something wrong with you, and then you lose confidence. And even as an adult, you hold on to, certain things. You're aware of your behavior, and you get a little bit, I'd get funny in social situations. In fact, I would really try not to talk anymore. It was crippling for a long time. It gave me anxiety because I was so paranoid that I was talking too much and not being myself, and not just and my confidence too. As an adult, going back to school and university, and then it's not easy. It's different when you're a kid or in your 20s and you're at college, but as an adult, I was juggling full-time work, and there's a fantastic university in Australia that allows you to, a technical, very prestigious one that allows now mature age students over 21 to go back to university, and I did it part-time. So I think, much like what you're saying with you being a first responder, for me it was the university studies and dabbling into digital marketing, which helped me later on too with DJing and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I proved to myself that I can apply. I'm not that bad. I need to get over it and not have a hang up about it. I am gifted, and DJing is like a creative outlet for me. It is now a successful career, which I never thought in a million years, ever. Because for me, it was a hobby that was also a side business. But I'd never, look, every DJ aspires to be a full-time DJ and tour. But I guess now I'm at a certain age, I literally cannot believe where I'm at and what's happened. I think it was something that, like, after 23 years, I never would imagine. I thought I was just going to keep doing corporates and brand stuff. If you persevere with anything, I think for that period of time, whether it's your career, whether it's fitness or something, it's got to eventually pay off. It's just the way the world works and the universe, You sound like you share the same view.
Do you think anyone can be a DJ?
With any skill. It's not just about DJing, it's about even musicians. I work with some incredible musicians at the moment. People don't understand this. You need to put in the dues. It doesn't happen overnight. We all make it look like it's happened overnight. Actors, everyone. Your career, Gen Z, sorry to go at them, but it just seems to be a pattern of these kids that are seeing like social media, but even the people that have blown up, for instance, say artists that have blown up on TikTok, they have paid their dues. It's just that they happen to get lucky. But if you look at their career, they weren't just a kid singing for like 2 minutes and came up with an incredible song one sunny afternoon. They actually, on the DL, were busting their ass and doing all sorts of sets or whatever, and the local bar or whatever. They paid their dues. If you put in the hard work, it'll pay off eventually. Look at like myself and other people, 23 years. And I did the FIFA Women's World Cup. Never in a million years. Never, ever, ever. I recently was single, and my ex-partner, we split up last year, not bringing up anything personal, but he was making fun of the fact that I'm still DJing, despite the accolades and everything. And my family too, they know, like, I put a lot of effort and energy. It takes a lot. It takes a lot from you. Like, as in, when you're moving up the ranks, can be a little bit isolating. Even now, like, I'm living the lifestyle that my friends are all like, they're getting a certain age, they've settled down, they've gotten married, they've got kids, just some crazy party animal. And it's like, well, no, it's actually a job, and it requires a lot more skill than what you think. Like, you guys think that we're just partying and getting drunk. No, like, it's laser focus. You've got a lot of responsibility. You're working the dance floor, and people don't understand. You have to structure sets at certain times of the night in a certain way. Like, the venue is relying on you, whether it's a function or not. So it's draining. Like, I remember playing after sets where I'm physically exhausted. You know what it's like.
I worked certain clubs, and you also had to know when to kind of thin out the floor to get them to the bar. Your friends are making fun of you. Well, I can buy a brand new car with the money I made. I pay my rent because of what I do.
This is the thing, and this goes back to the whole female thing. Again, I don't want to be that asshole that talks about, oh, poor females. Listen, no, I'm ballsy as hell, but it goes back to that. It's not age appropriate. It's not age appropriate.
Yeah.
You should be getting your life together. It's okay when you're 20, but is this going to be a lifelong thing? I don't know, but mind your business. Are you happy with your life? Let me do me. You know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, don't you think, you need to like wind it up? What are you going to be like 50 years old behind the deck? I can only imagine other women that might be listening out there that are in the game in different capacities. They would be going through the same shit, and I'm sick of it. Like, I can't. Being a DJ, the perception, the stereotype of sleeping around, no, it's not like that. It's a completely different lifestyle. In fact, I don't even drink when I'm playing.
I am drunk as a person that drinks every day when I work. It's part of the gig. It helps with the nervousness.
I said earlier, I get anxiety. I still get anxiety, and I've done some really, really big gigs.
Because I've been doing it just as long as you. I have never played a sporting event. How did you end up with that?
My career kind of went to a lull, my DJ career, and I had some personal things going on, and I gained a lot of weight. And this is why I guess I'm so fiercely like full on about the whole looking a certain way.
Yeah.
And while I was getting work as a female, it wasn't really appealing for them to put. It's fine if a male doesn't look, a certain way, but for females, it's the novelty. So I wasn't getting as many gigs, and then I went through a massive health, like everything. I was not in a good way, and with weight for some people, for me, it affected my mental health. And so when I went through this weight loss journey, like I don't know pounds in kilos for listeners out there, you can convert, sorry, but it was like I was 138 kilos, which I don't know if it's like 200 and something pounds. I basically lost about 85 kilos, which is like 160 odd pounds. My career changed. Yeah, my career changed. Like there's no other way of putting it, and it's as brutal and superficial as hell. But that's when I started to get really big gigs that I never even dreamed. And it wasn't club gigs anymore. It was like, I'm in a different league now. There's no other real women, without being arrogant, because I am not. I'm very humble and very grateful for all the opportunities. But there are no women in Sydney that I know of, or in Australia, that are really kind of doing what I do.
Yeah.
And so I would love to have colleagues that I can bounce off. Oh my God, la 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 la. That's what I was looking for. But it's kind of like lonely and isolated. There's a lot of haters that kind of look at you. But yeah, anyway, so I lost a lot of weight and started to do some gigs where people were starting to pay attention to me.
Right.
One of them was, it was a very famous influencer. She's famous in the United States, but she's an Australian fitness influencer. And I did a fashion brand. I think it was Opoly, or one of those fashion labels. They did like a collab with her, and she hired a super yacht on Sydney Harbour. That guy that booked me, the agent that booked me, dropped my name to someone that was looking for a DJ with a certain look and experience when FIFA, which is the soccer in America, but in Europe it's called football, Women's World Cup, Australia hosted it, and that's where it started, the sporting events thing. So I went from 0 to 100. So I started to get bigger with the casino and doing a lot of support stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they approached me, the agent, and was like, hey, the FIFA Women's World Cup's being hosted in Australia and New Zealand, put forward to FIFA, and FIFA were like, yep, book her in. And and then I'm not in Kansas anymore. Like, you're playing to between 75 and 78,000 people per match.
That's crazy.
I've broken in Australia the Guinness World Book records for the biggest televised, or DJing to the biggest televised audience.
You started making money as a DJ. What was the first thing you bought yourself?
Do you know, I actually just bought more shit for DJing. I think it was like a pair of great cans. I remember, actually, it was a pair of really good cans. For those that don't know what cans are, headphones, that's a very radio term.
Yes, it is.
Back then, Pioneer.
Yes.
Pioneer, I'm around. I would love to be a sponsor. Like Audio Technica better.
I am so picky with headgear now. I'm losing my hearing. You play all these places, you can't hear anymore.
Do you know what's weird? I'm not losing my hearing. I have like my headphones in like on one side so loud because I'm listening to the foldback, and I had to have my hearing tested for this job because with the medical, and we're not used to this. They did like a full medical, and they're like, "Oh yeah, your hearing's fine."
Yeah.
I'm a DJ. I should be like borderline deaf. I don't even wear like inners, which is really bad. You've got to wear, not the inners. You've got to wear your earplugs. Come on.
Yeah, no, right. I get that a lot.
Thanks for having me on the show, Drew. Had a great chat with you, and yeah, look forward to catching up with you soon. If anyone wants to give me a follow, you can check me out on Instagram. My handle is DJ_Jessie_James. So it's JESSIE_James.